your padlocks ready, Blue Jays fans. The lockout is almost upon us. Midnight tonight. It should go into effect. We're going to talk about how it actually impacts our Blue Jays from the On Fek Circle, presented by Jays from the Couch and the Jays from the Couch radio podcast. I am the madman across the border, the feckless wonder, Steve Fek. Before we get into the heart of the show, let's talk about Jays from the Couch and JaysFromTheCouch.com. If you are not already checking on a daily basis, if not several times a day, especially here in the off season, you need to go there. You've already missed all the great minor league recaps that Ryan Muller had done during the season and all the insightful articles and the game recaps. You missed all that, but don't get behind the eight ball. There's a lockout, but we're not going to stop. There's all sort of information. There have been some just terrific articles by Bob Ritchie and Jim Scott as far as player analysis and what if, or should we do this? Our senior editor, Sean Doyle, is a regular putting up there. So make sure you check every day, JaysFromTheCouch.com for an article. More importantly, check into the Jays from the Couch radio podcast. That's Monday, 6 p.m. Eastern time, right here on the YouTube channel. It's also simulcast live on the Facebook page and at the Twitter handle at Jays from Couch. Sean, 280 episodes. He has anchored that podcast. And I'm very fortunate, along with my colleague Karen Suter, to be included in the last year or so on a regular basis. Hopefully you caught the podcast last night as we recapped all the free agents. And if you missed the live stream, it's okay. It's not only archived on YouTube, it's also available anywhere you find your finer podcast. If it's like Joe's podcast provider, it's probably not there because it's probably not reliable and we're not going to go on there. But, Apple, Stitcher, Spotify, you name it, you can find Jays from the Couch radio podcast. And on the YouTube channel on Thursdays, 6 p.m. Eastern time, is Sunny Side of the Dome, hosted by my colleague Karen Suter. She's the voice of reason, I guess you would say. We always tease her about being the girl with Blue Jays colored glasses, but really she does hang on to her fandom, but makes terrific baseball points and is not afraid to say, look, this is a bad idea or this is not good. Okay. But she always has her eye on the future and what the Blue Jays can become and how each move, each game, each signing impacts that step and that pathway to a world championship. So that's Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern time. As for me, if you look around and you've seen previous On Fek circles, I'm usually surrounded in more of a man cave kind of a situation. I purposely have a lot of Blue Jays paraphernalia around primarily to convince you that, yes, I really am a Blue Jay fan. Okay, just because I'm not all, oh, everything is great, everything is wonderful, all the time. I mean, I love the Blue Jays, and I have for a very long time. As you can tell by the gray in my beard, a very long time. I remember watching baseball when there were no Toronto Blue Jays. Okay, so I go way back. But that does not mean that I'm going to just automatically say this is great and we have to keep everybody or we have to fire everybody. I'm going to speak the truth as I see it and as I understand it. Doesn't mean that I'm necessarily correct, but I'm never going to lie to you. And I think tonight, on the eve of the lockout, it's not going to be a strike because when the agreement expires, it's going to be the owners. They're going to suspend all transactions. Almost all business will end at 11:59 this evening. A strike would happen more once spring training happens and games are involved, even into the season. Then the work stoppage would be a strike by the MLB CBA. So that's why you'll hear the word lockout from now until spring training and not a player strike. But I think it's important to be in a more relaxed atmosphere tonight. Some of you, I'm going to have to talk off the ledge. Oh my God, we didn't sign Simeon. Oh my God, we didn't sign Robbie Ray. Oh, there's a lockout. We still need a third baseman. We still need bullpen help. We need a number 5 starter. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? The Sky Dome is falling. The Sky Dome is falling. It's not, folks. Okay. It is a bump in the road. It's an annoyance if you're a Blue Jay fan or a baseball fan in general. Some of you, this will be an educational episode. I mean, I'm not trying to come off as a know-it-all, but you may be a more casual fan. You want to hear what's going on in Blue Jays land, so you tune in to the On Fek Circle or the Jays from the Couch radio podcast or Sunny Side of the Dome. You tune into those shows and you follow JaysFromTheCouch.com because you want to get more detail, meat and potato stuff rather than just what the box score is or who's pitching tonight. You're not going to get yourself involved in the labor negotiations and what the CBA has meant, what it could mean, how it's going to look like. So some of the things we touch upon here tonight are going to be kind of educational. And then there's some of you that I just need to preach to or yell at because you just don't get it. Okay. Part of the reason that I have a beard here during my shows in November is because I'm raising money through a Movember fundraiser. Since I usually have a mustache, I grow a full beard. Some college buddies and I all do that because we grow horrible beards. So we figure it's even a bigger sacrifice to grow a beard than just a mustache to raise money for men's health issues. But really, following some of the people on social media and people that comment on things at JaysFromTheCouch.com or whatever it would be, I'm afraid to get a razor too close to my throat because I'm afraid I'm going to go for the jugular because you guys just don't get it. So this is going to be like a 3-phase kind of an episode. And we're going to focus on the CBA negotiations, what's kind of on the table, what's at thing. Wow, MLB and MLB CBA agree on a 5-year deal per Jeff Passan. Good night, guys. I guess I don't need to say anything at all. On that is terrific news. And it's because it's coming from Jeff Passan, I feel much, much more convinced that is going to be a real thing. This isn't JP Morosi, throwing stuff at the wall, hoping it's going to stick. This isn't other Blue Jays sites that I refer to alphabetically that just want to get people to read and get hits here. If Jeff Passan's reporting that the MLB and MLB CBA have agreed on a 5-year deal, that is terrific. So I guess really I'm going to scrap the majority of my show. Okay. I've meticulously laid out the show. I was going to have an article for JaysFromTheCouch.com about how the lockout affects the Blue Jays, but all of that is all for naught because we have a 5-year deal between Major League Baseball and the MLB CBA. Oh, it's a fake account. Oh, okay. I feel better now. Okay, so I got catfished. Okay, I got catfished here. Thank you, Sean Doyle, who's always behind the scenes here, for posting that up there. I think he wanted to make sure I was actually paying attention to any notes that he might be putting up there. But alas, it was not a real Twitter account. I mean, I know there was a fake Ken Rosenthal account, and they deliberately spelled his name wrong. And 50% of the Twitter sphere still fell for it. Okay, at the very least, check the spelling of the name. Now, with a Ken Rosenthal or a Jeff Passan, you need to have a check mark next to it. It needs to be a verified. They're going to have their accounts verified. Dopes like me, they're not going to verify my account. Okay, do I do a regular show? Well, I don't feel as bad because it fooled Fangraphs and others. But people at Fangraphs are much smarter than I. So I fell for it a lot quicker than than a lot of the people might have. But I mean, let's hope that is the case. So I can go back to my class, if you will. I'm Professor Positive here tonight. It might be the only time in my time helping to cover the Blue Jays for JFromTheCouch.com that I'm going to be Professor Positive here. Now, the advantage of this lockout and the ultimate settling of the CBA, there's a really good thing that's going to come out of it. And that's mainly that all these stupid pandemic rules, like putting a runner on second base for extra innings and having 7-inning doubleheaders, they're gone. Manfred's all but said, we're not even going to attempt to put that out there. And we're going to have some kind of an agreement on an expanded playoff format. I hope that it's not the 14-team, idea that MLB is trying to float now, where the best team with the best record gets a bye, and then you have drummed up NCAA tournament coverage where you've got the top teams picking their choice of wildcard teams to play, and then the leftover teams have like a play-in series because they're not really playing a division winner. It's so convoluted. If they wanted to double it to 8 teams and really just base it strictly on record, and I think most Blue Jay fans are going to go for that, because even though they finished at 4th in their division, they would have been, they would have made the playoffs if they were going by record. Okay, they would have made the playoffs in an expanded playoff as they did in 2020. So those would be good things. The bad part of a lockout is I'm not sure that's an environment in which Ross Atkins would work as efficiently and as effectively, where it's going to be a mad scramble to just get everything done once the CBA is put together, assuming another fake count doesn't report it happens, but while we're here on the air. I just don't think that's his environment. Okay. And then, on Jason from the Couch Radio podcast, we always do fake news, which has come to be a listener favorite. I love doing it. Mine tend to be more mean-spirited than the ones that Sean and Karen come up with. But because of the terrific signing of Kevin Gossman and getting the Barrios extension done, I scrapped probably one of the favorite ones I wrote, because I had one where Ross Atkins goes to a children's hospital, taking a visit to children and play games with them. And he gets involved in a game of Go Fish, but eventually, they had to put the kids back into bed and everything, because Ross couldn't decide. Well, gee, what card do I want to discard? Do I really want to? Should I ask? What card should I ask for? I don't understand what's going on. That's still my underlying fear of that Ross Atkins, how he would operate. So if we have a mad rush after the CBA, especially if it's a late settlement, like in February or beginning of March into spring training, I worry about that. But I scrapped that because I needed to pay homage to Ross Atkins, because so far he has had a terrific offseason. For all of you, and Liam has a question here. What do you think about the Chris Bryant, Chris Taylor, and Freddie Freeman rumors? The Freddie Freeman rumor, I don't know where that came from. I'm guessing from an agent, though Carlos Baerga, the former Indians infielder, put it out there. So I'm sure he talks to people. I mean, I know that he's close with Charlie Montoyo, so I guess it could be something that could come to fruition. I just don't see Freeman signing anywhere but Atlanta, to be honest with you. But imagine, do you move Vladdy to third base? I mean, as insane as it would seem at the beginning of the 2021 season, looking at his offseason workout things that get posted to social media now, he may have that, agility and flexibility to move back third base. I don't think Chris Bryant's coming here. I mean, they're putting Chris Bryant's name out there, and that's definitely coming from an agent because Chris Bryant would be a natural fit. Blue Jays need a regular third baseman. Bryant can play the outfield, including center field. He did a great job playing center field at whatever they call the Giants Stadium now. It used to be Pac Bell. Lord knows, what it is. Politically correct stadium or whatever they're calling it in San Francisco now. So that's an agent plant. Chris Taylor would be just a fabulous addition. And he would still fit within the budget of where the Blue Jays would be maybe spending right up to that $180 million level. And we'll talk about why that $180 million level is important in a little bit here. But I think Chris Taylor would be just amazing. And now that Robbie Ray is in Seattle and you're not saving money to spend on him, you potentially could sign Chris Taylor, and that would allow you to trade another piece, whether it be Kevin Biggio, which I would personally hate to say, Alejandro Kirk. You're throwing prospects in. You trade one of the outfielders because Chris Taylor can play everywhere. I don't know that he would be a good everyday third baseman. He's played third base and he's been okay. He's a middle infielder. He's a corner outfielder. But that would be just a terrific signing. So thank you very much for that question, Liam. Wow, that would be amazing, huh? I mean, I don't think it's going to get done between now and midnight. We still have to get, medicals have to be in. So unless they've been really proactive and been quiet about what they're going to do as far as signing people, these medicals have to be in and reviewed and submitted for the deal to be official before midnight. So I think the big name guys are now going to have to wait until after the lockout. But is that a move that Atkins would make? I think it would. I can't imagine. I don't know logistically where Freddie Freeman would fit in. In my mind, as great as it would be, I think it would be a disruptive move similar to the Simeon signing. That's just me. I'm the only person in Blue Jay land who still thinks, despite the great season and excitement he gave us, it was a bad idea to commit that $18 million to Marcus Simeon. Freddie Freeman disrupts the flow of things. I think Vladdy has the competence now to maybe attempt to go back and try to play third base. You could rotate them in and out of the DH slot, though Montoyo and the front office prefers to really rotate everybody through the DH slot as a quasi day off. But imagine that lineup having Freddie Freeman in it. That just changes everything. It just changes everything. So that was a terrific question. And if you have your question, just because I have something written down on a piece of paper, doesn't mean that's what we have to talk about. This show is for you. Okay, I'm the one that sits here and babbles and either drives you crazy or makes you laugh or makes you think. That's true, but this is your show. So if you're on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter right now and you have a question, please do flash it up there. And while we're talking about questions, we had a loyal regular listener from the Tonawandas. You know him on YouTube as Bison's Booster. He's getting ready to start a podcast coming up next season about the Buffalo Bisons. It's Bison's Booster. His name is Seamus Nelson. He put up a question saying, what happens to minor leaguers during a lockout or during a strike? It's a pretty straightforward thing. If a player is on the 40-man roster, they are then officially a member of the MLB CBA, the Players Union. If they're a minor leaguer, even though they've signed with a major league organization, they are not eligible to be part of the union until they are added to a 40-man roster. So minor league free agents, like the Jays just signed 4 of them, and 2 to keep in mind, Malik Smith, who has had major league time in the outfield, great base runner, good defender, and Matt Gage, a left-handed reliever who's velocity has gone up every season since he had surgery on his left elbow. You're going to see those guys, I think, make the 26 or 27-man roster, depending on how the negotiations go. But minor leaguers can sign minor league contracts. They can't sign major league contracts, and you're not really going to sign a minor league player to a major league contract. It had to be a really unusual situation. So those guys can still sign. So you'll see transactions happen. And there will be a Rule 5 draft too. So all of those tasty morsels that the Blue Jays left exposed to protect the likes of Breivik, Babe Ruth, Valera, the Jays are going to lose some players into Rule 5, but they can also claim some people under Rule 5 as well. So that we'll have those kind of things to look forward to doing that. So Seamus, feel better. Okay. Hope the surgery goes well. Again, at any point, throw up your questions. Sean will get them up there to you, and I'll answer them to the best of my ability, which is not really best of my ability. I'll just answer them as I am able. Okay. I don't really have a best of my ability. So we'll go forward from there. I want to talk about 3 impactful parts of the CBA negotiations that Blue Jay fans have to focus about. There's so much minutia and so much ground that you have to cover that there's no need to go through it in detail. You're going to read this and see this and listen to this ad nauseum until an agreement is reached. But there are 3 parts of the negotiations that Blue Jay fans should pay close attention to when people are talking about it, if it comes up, whether it be through press leaks or Tony Clark or Rob Manfred, and the commissioner's office talks about it. These are really important things that you need to focus on. The single most important is the service time reduction. It's going to happen. Okay, the players union doesn't have a whole lot of chips that they can negotiate and give away, but they're really angry. They're so frustrated by service time manipulation by major league teams, and they can cry and whine all they want to. They have no control over that, and they never really will. As strong as this union is, there's no way that they're going to dictate roster management and player personnel policy to Major League Baseball teams. But they can insist and look out for the future stars of the game, really the people that are going to have this game continue on into the 21st century and ideally grow the game back to at least close to what it once was. At this point, in many U.S. markets, Major League Baseball is the 4th team behind football, hockey, the NBA. And I'd even say even the 5th team, like in an area like Seattle, it's behind MLS. So Major League Baseball, this is a very critical negotiation for both sides. But we're probably going to see free agent arbitration eligibility get reduced by 1 year. Now, Major League Baseball owners have proposed just an absolutely preposterous, ridiculous proposal for free agency where everyone, once they reach age 29 and a half, no matter when they came up, whether they came up as an 18-year-old or they came up as a 28-year-old, becomes eligible for free agency at the age of 29 and a half. So really, unless you were born in December, you would be, once you hit the age of 29, eligible for free agency. They'd be part of November. That's how picky they get. And they also proposed $1 billion per year pool for arbitration eligible players to split, which the players are never going to go for because anything that even sniffs of being a salary cap, the union is adamant against. And in essence, that caps arbitration awards. No matter how you want to pose it or paint it, because they're going to, the arbitration moderators are going to say, well, yes, I could see where you would get 15 million or 12 million, but really we're going to have to hold back a little bit, because we need to make sure we have enough in reserve just in case to spread it out. It's a cap on arbitration. That's not going to happen. So we're going to lose 1 year of retention through arbitration process. Now, I would imagine since there won't be a third-year arbitration, it's not going to affect, Barrios is extended and Ross Stripling, okay, fine. If he's a free agent, he's a free agent, fine. I don't think no big loss. But Teoscar Hernandez and Adam Simber would become eligible for free agency before the 2023 season. So they only have one more year left in here. Vladdy, Jansen, Biggio, Tim Meza, Trevor Richards, they would be free agents a year earlier than anticipated in 2024. Lourdes Gurriel would also be a free agent, even though technically he would have a year of arbitration left when his contract expires. It's written into the language of the contract that by signing that contract he did, the very team-friendly contract he did, there is no arbitration. They will not take him to arbitration. The agreement is they'd either extend him or become eligible for free agency. Then you have Bo, Santiago Espinal, and Jordan Romano eligible for 2025. And when you're thinking about let's sign all these players, that's something to consider. That's a big pill you have to swallow. And you have to plan for. Otherwise, you're going to have to try to trade some of these guys earlier than you thought because you're going to have some pretty big longer-term contracts on the books. Yes, Grichuk's contract will be gone eventually. Reuse will expire. Still, the awards we're talking about, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is going to set the record for first-year arbitration. You heard it here first. He's going to set the record for first-year arbitration award. You don't have an MVP season, even though he wasn't selected MVP, and not get that kind of payday, even your first trip to the plate as an arbitration. Now, in order to get that thing waived, the Players Association is going to have to give in somewhere. And the last real big bargaining chip that they have left that they haven't already given away is allowing for an international draft. That will have long-term implications for the Blue Jays because the Blue Jays have traditionally been a team that do well in the international signing market. Even when you had idiots like J.P. Ricciardi and Gord Ash at the helm, they did well in the international signing market. So if there's an international player draft, now you're talking, just like with the major league draft, you're not going to get bonus pool money and everything. You're going to have to wait and hope that the guy you really want doesn't get selected. And it'll be interesting to see whether the Asian markets and the Australian market would be included in that, but I would imagine it would be. They can't just say it's going to be the Caribbean nations in South America and Europe and not include Japan, Korea. So no more posting. That's a whole other mess of a negotiation. Take Alejandro Kirk. That's not the guy that Derek Cecilius, I think is his name. It's somewhere in that ballpark. Went down to Mexico to scout and ideally sign. It was a different catcher, a more traditional, 6'2", 220-pound, athletic, chiseled guy. That's who they went down to scout. The guy that the Blue Jays scout fell in love with was Alejandro Kirk. Despite his body build and all the reasons why you would say, well, we can't consider him, he saw this guy can hit. This guy is a good catcher because in Mexican professional baseball, the Winter League, you've got seriously big-time major league players, maybe recently retired guys playing there on a regular basis. So we wouldn't have found Alejandro Kirk. It would have been hard to sneak him through because somebody else would have found out about him as well. So that is an impact that could be felt. The third impact, I'm going to wrap this up quickly. would be the luxury tax threshold, and it's going to affect the Blue Jays in two ways. One, the owners have proposed dropping it down to 180 million and increasing the tax to 25%, and then maybe even have it increase more or lose draft picks as they went up, in increments. The Blue Jays, that would hurt the Blue Jays. The Blue Jays are going to probably end up right around 180 million. So is the team really going to like the fact that they're having to pay luxury tax, where before it was 210 million was the threshold? I don't think it's going to be as low as 180, but that percentage of luxury tax is going to go up, and eventually the Blue Jays would be affected by that because they're going to be up closer to 200 million probably within the next year or two. More impactful is the floor. Major League Baseball owners have said $100 million every team has to spend up to 100 million. And they're not even talking about doing it incrementally. I can see starting at 80 and then working their way up to 100. 12 major league teams spent under $100 million in 2021. Imagine the additional mad rush for players if these teams have to retroactively spend up to 100 million. That's going to make it tougher for the Blue Jays to fill in the gaps and add the fifth starter and bullpen depth and a bench bat, maybe a third baseman. It's going to make it harder. It's going to be more competition. Well, we've gone on long enough. Don't worry about the lockout. Okay? Don't worry about it. It will end eventually. We've got plenty of things we can talk about on this show, on the podcast on Monday night, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, on Sunny Side of the Dome with Karen Suter, Thursday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, on the YouTube channel. I'm Steve Fek, the Feckless Wonder. Thanks for tuning in tonight. Thanks for talking some off-season with us. And I'll see you next Tuesday.